Elderly woman talks about the downsides of pretty privilege and she is getting backlash. Tell me your thoughts down below, guys.
Pretty privilege is real. It is. I said the shit. It's real. I have seen people gravitate towards me and then all of a sudden like compliment me on my eyes, my skin color, my hair, whatever. Right? So it's real. People do actually, I guess treat me differently because of it. Now, because of it, the different treatment is not always good. Okay? Sometimes the treatment is negative and it's bad. So because of the color of my skin, because of the color of my eyes, because of my hair texture, I get hated on. So I'm going to need you people who hate on people who are pretty to at least take into consideration that we getting it out here. Like, we already getting it. We don't need it from you as well. Like, for real. Like, give us a break. I mean, be mad at moms and dad. Huh? We didn't do it. We didn't ask to be put here to look like this. Okay? Whatever we was mixed up with, it's here and we didn't have anything to do with it. So I was in a public spot a few weeks ago and there was a gentleman who was talking to me more than he was talking to the other ladies in the room. And ever since then, those ladies have been treating me like shit. And it wasn't my fault. He was just talking to me. I mean, probably because I was confident enough to speak back to him. I don't know. But they was hating. And they've been treating me like shit ever since. So y'all, be kind. Be kind to us pretty girls. We out here scraggling.
Please, I beg of you, do not set yourself up and come on the internet and tell everybody that you suffer from pretty privilege. First off, we understand the concept of pretty privilege exists. But if your main point of coming on and talking about pretty privilege is to tell everybody how beautiful you are and how you have people that are haters because you are just so beautiful, please don't do it. Especially if you get past the ages of 40, 50, 60 years old. You are setting yourself up. Everybody's going to call you old and decrepit. And especially if you start leaning into things like they see my skin color, they see my hair texture. So then say you're benefiting from colorism. You'd be like, no, I mean, I know I'm beautiful. They say, I think you're benefiting from colorism. Not. Once you say that you suffer from pretty privilege, somebody is going to be determined to spot the thing that is not pretty about you. They are going to tell you, and they're not going to let you. Your feelings is going to get hurt. Why do y'all do this? Like, I pray that that's just not something that's on my mind once I get to a certain age. Please.
I feel like I want to just add my little 2 cents, my little opinion, which, by the way, is not truth. A lot of people's opinions on social media, they kind of designate them as the truth. I don't do that. I'm neutral, but I just want to add my little 2 cents. Little 2 cents to this lady that's trending, that's like older, younger than me. She's younger than me, talking about pretty privilege. I've been reading some of the comments. Very interesting. And I see a lot of comments where people are, just calling her elderly and everything like that. There's some truth to that. She's in her 50s. But if I can inject just a little bit of wisdom myself, I'm considered elderly. I'm 63 and I'm considered elderly. I can see where she's coming from. I will say this first of all. I think the term pretty privilege, I think it has a season. I think of relevancy. And that is, I feel like, me personally, give it to the young girls. I mean, I'll get back to in a second why I say I can see where the elderly woman is coming from. But I'm like, is it really even that serious? Because when you get to be my age, if pretty privilege is so high in the ranks of your thinking and your mindset, personally, I don't feel like that's a sign of individual accomplishment. if it's just about pretty, it's not really a flex. Although the compliment is nice. I mean, if you're still elderly and people feel like you're really pretty and they put you in a certain category, or you get, certain, favors or whatever, that's really cool. But getting back to what she said about why she feels the way that she feels, it's relevant. I was born in the 60s, and so I was raised in the 70s and 80s, and light-skinned, being equated to being pretty was really a thing. And but the reality is, when I was growing up, it's like when the 70s hit with the black culture, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, that particularly that culture. I do remember that all the posters, because they used to sell these posters in the record store. Back in the day, we had record stores, and they used to sell these glow-in-the-dark posters, and they were kind of like velvet. They were like glow-in-the-dark, but they had velvet. All the beautiful women that they would sell was that dark chocolate woman with the afro, with the tiger or the panther, next to her, and she was in a bikini. It's like everybody secretly wanted to be her. We all knew what was up. It's like, yeah, even if you were light-skinned or whatever, you knew she was the queen, that particular look. And so I remember, the whole racism and the colorism thing back from the 70s when I was young and in high school. Yeah, a lot of guys liked me, and they liked me because of my complexion, although I wasn't really considered. I was like borderline light-skinned, but we all knew when the sister with the pretty skin and the pretty eyes and the hair and the thick afro and everything walked among us. I mean, we all had to take the background. She was the the forefront. We already knew that she was. So that was not even a thing. So in that respect, I understand where the lady is coming from when she talks about pretty privilege. But I kind of feel like I said, leave that to the young girls. It's like these young girls, I mean, the world is their pearl. Let them own the pretty privilege and operate off the pretty privilege. I mean, that's where they at. I used to be in my 30s and my 20s back in the day. And, I don't know how the young girls' mindsets are today, but primarily, when you in your 30s and you got the face card in your 20s and 30s, it's like, yeah, the world is your pearl. It is about pretty privilege. You get the best, you get the VIP, you get the front row seats, you get all that. But I don't think it was essentially because you were light skinned. I think it was more of a face card thing. But then again, it was a culture back then, a colorism culture, and that traveled with me all the way into college. And that's when I really noticed it. When I was in Grambling State University, was the colorism thing was a really big thing. But I would say this in regards to pretty privilege. I really don't think, I think that more so is leave it to the young girls, but I do understand that there's some older women that's still operating off of pretty privilege. I can't really say if that's me or not, because to be honest with you, a lot of things go over my head. It's like, I couldn't even tell you if anything that's happening in my life is because somebody finds me attractive, because I'm just too much in my head. That's a whole nother story. But I think rather than me at this age to embrace pretty privilege, I would rather embrace the favor of God privilege, because I think the favor of God privilege trumps all of that. As pretty is one thing, but, pretty ain't going to get you, the mortgage approval, the credit approval, the car you want, the finances you want, the health you want, the peace you want. Pretty can only go so far. It's skin deep. It might get you some things, don't get me wrong, but it ain't going to get you the whole favor of God, like the favor of God privilege comes with. And so I think, like, especially at my age, I would rather focus on the fact that I have the favor of God privilege. And it's kind of similar to pretty privilege, because God says that he'll bless you so much that people will be jealous. He'll have people jealous of you because your God is so good to you. And I think that's where I am. So, if I'm going to brag about something, it's like, and people having being player hating here and there or whatever, I would say it's because of the favor of God privilege on my life. So that's just my little take to the whole thing. So that's what I think.
As a pretty person, I'm conventionally pretty because I'm beyond light-skinned, and I don't think people like me because of my skin. It's because of how they treat me, because I'm pretty and I'm clear. Like, I'm not even like regular light skin, like I'm see-through, and I got pretty colorful eyes, and yeah, my eyes is rainbow colors. And did I tell you I was pretty? I don't think I told you. I didn't. I don't know. But just because you are light-skinned that don't mean you're pretty. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't understand why that's a thing. Now, in some cases, because you're light-skinned, you could be around certain people and they'll tolerate you because your skin is light. But no, that it don't work like that. Just because you light skinned, that don't mean you. I mean, just because you light skinned, that don't mean you're pretty. Because not every light skinned person is pretty. I just feel like there's way more people in the world that are pretty than a whole group of light skinned people. And this is coming from somebody who some people would deem me light skinned. So I don't know. And don't get me wrong, I feel like everybody's pretty in the eyes of God, right? Like, everybody is beautiful. You know what I mean? But pretty, but I don't want to say that nobody is not beautiful, because God has made everybody beautiful. But like, let's not push that agenda out. You know what I mean? Like, let's not push the RA race. Let's not push that. Let's just say somebody's pretty just because they're pretty. And it's no hate on the lady who was talking about pretty privilege or whatever, but at the end of the day, I genuinely think she's like a good-hearted person, but we can't keep pushing that. Like, some stuff we just kind of like, if you say certain stuff on the internet, people are going to tick at it,
So let's break it down. Whether you think this woman is pretty or not, it's neither here nor there. She believes she's pretty, and she believes that she has the evidence in her life to support that. Now, one thing I must say, and I need to add this into this conversation because I think she's 50. That means we're the same age and we grew up around the same time. I know 1,000%, because I've watched subsequent videos after that first video. Homegirl believes that she's beautiful, and that is good and dandy, and honestly, we all should. Being beautiful, I like to believe that I'm pretty, or like to believe that I'm beautiful, but it's not the most important thing to me. So I would never make a video about pretty privilege, because I don't know, I just think you're asking for it. I'm one of those people that, it's weird, I'm one of those people that would never talk about anything. I know that there are going to be people that are going to level me up. I would never talk about like the house I live in, the car I drive, like the job I have, the money I make, because somebody got a bigger house. Somebody has a better car, the newer version, the autobiography version of it, okay? The autobiography 2025, the autobiography 2026, new body style hasn't even come out yet. There's always somebody to one-up you. And so I think when you try to make yourself as... where are my people that are able to follow me? Because y'all know I go from here to there and everywhere. So when you try to make yourself as the standard for something, I think it gets very difficult. And even for people that are that girl, you got to keep topping yourself when you put yourself out there to these people to hold you as a standard in their eyes, right? And this beautiful woman has said that she's always experienced pretty privilege. Here is the problem, and this is why some of you younger people are going banana nuts. What you don't understand is in 1980s, there really was only one criteria to be pretty, and that was to be light skinned, to be lighter complexion, to be biracial, genuine. And I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but we were all kind of conditioned to think that. for some fair complected people, that philosophy did not age well. It did not serve them well, because then, as we realize, some people aren't pretty, they're just light complected. We were told that to be pretty, you need to be light complected. And then you're looking at some people, especially some dudes, you're like, this dude is not really that cute. He was just fair skinned, right? So now people, there's so much more nuance to what creates attractiveness. Yes, is there still colorism? Yes. Y'all sent the Chris Brown off the internet talking about colorism. Y'all got under his skin. Chris Brown may be a colorist. I don't care. He's still a great artist. It doesn't offend me anymore. There was a time where it greatly offended me. I have a good girlfriend who I got in a debate with her husband, who is dark complected, who said that he intentionally wanted to marry a light-skinned woman because he wanted to make sure that his children had a light complexion, or at least liked her complexion. And it pissed me off so bad because it felt like such a rejection, even though I don't want her man, right? And I'm like, what is that about? What it was about was, in his personal preference, I saw that he viewed me as less than. But that really wasn't the case. It was his personal trauma. It was his trauma of being called names on the playground growing up that he wanted to inherently protect his children from. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is, if you grew up thinking you were attractive or you were beautiful or you were pretty because you met one main criteria, why do you think people would think differently today as they age? What's their reality? When you believe you're pretty, a lot of times that now translates into appeal, because it's about confidence. Do y'all see how this is all intertwined and all connected? Even though attractiveness, prettiness, pretty privilege is very subjective, we have to admit and acknowledge that historically there were certain criteria. If you had organic bundles, meaning if your hair grew long right straight out of your head, especially if it was straight or a looser curl pattern. Some people, all they saw was that. You could be everything else, but if you had bundles growing from the scalp, you were pretty. I think in many ways we've kind of progressed from that, I'm happy to say, but there was a time. There was a time for dudes too. Y'all know, if they had, I never really was into the like really curly, straight, fine hair dudes, because in my brain, I'm like, those are the ones that go ball faster. that little fine curly hair, baby, be thinning and running back to the neck. So that never really was my thing, but there was a time when it was a thing. We are from the 80s, early 90s, right? Light eyes was another thing. Don't meet a guy with some light color eyes. Don't meet a girl with some light color eyes. I think we now understand that just because we were led to believe through media, through representation, for whatever different reason, that doesn't make it true. But it also doesn't mean that if you have those things, you're not beautiful, because you very well could be. But people, one of my girlfriends has this really inappropriate joke, but I'll tell y'all, because I didn't say it, she said. She's like, you could tell light-skinned girls that grew up just being told that they were beautiful just on birth. She's like, because they just don't try. She's like, sometimes they won't even have a pedicure. I'm like, what? She said, they won't even have a pedicure. They don't even get their toes done sometimes. And I was like, and then I started looking, and I think that this is just stereotypical, and it's no shade. But when you are kind of raised in an environment that says, just for being born the complexion you're born, you have a leg up, I just think that sometimes that can be misunderstood, and it's not the fault of the person that is in that environment, but we all should have some of that awareness, right? Because y'all know. And this is coming from somebody that's been called light-skinned by some people, which I do not think of myself as a light-skinned person. Dark-skinned. I remember one of my fair-complected friends told me one time, I was asking her to describe somebody. She was like, they were dark-skinned, like you. And I was like, okay. I didn't know. That was the first time I'd been described as dark-skinned, but whatever. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? We as a society never mind, because we're not going to be able to do it because we're going backwards, not forwards. So just disregard. Scratch that. But what are you all's thoughts?